This is a video diary series of the perspective of 20-year-olds in the year 2020.
Hi, I'm Kayla. I'm a second year incoming third year political science student at Wilfrid Laurier University. I'm also a co-op student and I'm currently working remotely from home, based in Ingersoll, Ontario. And yeah.
That was so good, your introduction.
Was it? Are you editing this?
Okay, so this is me and Kayla are just going to talk about how she, as a 20-year-old, has been affected by COVID-19 and just how her year has changed and her plans for this year have changed. Starting off, so this is kind of the hardest question to go forth, but you are expected to graduate, as you said, within the next 2 years. Do you feel that the anxiety and the pressure you have of finding a job and just graduating in general has been accelerated since the uncertainty that this year has brought?
So I am projected to graduate by spring of 2022. I'll be hoping by that time, within the next 2 years, that the job market will expand bigger than it is currently at this time. However, I do believe that the impacts that COVID has done now is probably going to result in more remote work in the future. So we're definitely going to see industries working towards working from home. Like Twitter is offering permanent work from home now. So I bet a lot of companies are working towards something like that. And I think that's probably going to be something that maybe might happen to me by 2022, where I will probably have to find a job working from home. And to be honest, I'm not sure if they're looking for a recent graduate at that point, if they're looking for remote from home work, or if there's less opportunities for me if it is remote from home. So I'm not too sure what the next few years are going to look like, but I know that there definitely will be a dynamic in how we work now, especially with everyone using the internet and if everyone works remotely from home, we're all connected through computers and devices. It will definitely be a challenge, I think, in the next couple of years as well. Currently, as a student, I am prepared to do most of my courses online for the next following year. And I'm a little stressed about some of the mandatory courses that I do have to take that I know might be a bit of a challenge for me. I am doing a business minor, so I know that some of those business courses I will struggle on, and I will need to have those further support. I don't think it'll hinder my graduation, but I do think that it might affect the way I will study for the next 2 years.
Do you find, just going off of that you would have preferred to maybe have a society like a couple of decades ago where there was kind of no option to go online and everyone was forced to kind of go into the workplace? Or do you think it's better that we have this option?
I think it's good that we have this option now because, yes, the internet is great for possibilities of working from home. I'd rather have the possibility of working from home than not working at all, right? So that's how I kind of perceive it. Personally, I would rather work in an office regardless. I'd rather choose to just go to a specific place. I don't have to take work home with me. But I definitely do see where you're coming from. I do think that the internet is incredibly important for being innovative. And as much as I'd rather work in an office, I'd rather just work in general, right?
True. So as an aftermath of COVID-19, we're expected to enter an incumbent recession. Do you find that our generation, of Generation Z, is going to change the focus of environmental reform and pushing objectives of having environmental policy into more of a focus of economic reform as a result of this recession?
Ultimately, we are a country that focuses on economic growth and profit, and we have seen people face great losses during this time, whether it was their business, it was their home. A lot of people are really struggling during this time, and an economic incline is most likely going to be an essential for all of us to be successful. However, we are the next generation of Gen Z who are graduating and becoming leaders into the working force. So I believe that we're going to have a stronger idea of what corporate social responsibility is going to look like in the future. We are going to be much more aware of how to handle the environmental impacts, of being more aware of our policies and being aware of our actions and how we can combat that in the future as we progress to be leaders. And we don't have to just we don't have to follow whatever the corporate is doing. We are able to be more innovative and be a little bit more conscious of our actions and being able to take on more responsibility because we are aware of what the impacts have happened between 2010 to now.
So we both are political science students. So I think we more so than the rest of society, has been focusing on the political impact of this and how this is going to change people's political ideology and opinions in Canada. So kind of going off of that, do you think that people in our age group of early 20s are going to have more or less trust in the federal government as a result of how they handled COVID-19?
That's a really good question. So, as a political science student, I know that a lot of people are really close to be cynical towards of our political leaders. And I know that Justin Trudeau has faced a lot of backlash during his time as prime minister as well. However, I do believe that with COVID, are you suggesting COVID-19 or anything really in general?
Just, yeah, like COVID-19, how the federal government has, like CERB is a great example. Some people are really for CERB, and then some people in society are heavily against it. Do you think that's going to impact if they would have been supporters of the federal government and the Liberal Party more specifically before COVID-19?
That's hard to say because CERB and CSB is a really great resource for students as well as people who have lost work over their time. But a lot of people don't seem to reflect on CERB or CSB as something to be grateful of. It's something as more it's entitled. Like we're entitled by the government to have this money so that we can keep on supporting the economy. So that's a really interesting perspective to me because I just spoke to an international student who was talking about how grateful she is for CERB, how grateful she is for CSB, and how in her home she would never have this opportunity. So she actually wouldn't mind paying those high taxes to be able to afford to be able to have CERB and CSB for the next 4 months. So I'm not too sure how the Liberal perspective of that is going to look out. I believe that there are people who are incredibly grateful for what CERB has been done for them. They can cover rent, they can cover some part of tuition as well. And for a lot of those students, I'm thinking it personally. And I think that definitely will reach into the long run for the Trudeau party as well and how they have been able to tackle the situation. There are criticisms of the Liberal Party not being able to be proactive for the COVID-19 crisis as well. We are aware of Theresa Tam, who's the public health officer of Canada, who did say that she said this could have been prevented. And I think a lot of people took that as more of a hit and was like, why didn't we do more? Why didn't we prevent this more? But as well, there are so many complexities with third parties that maybe we're not getting the full picture, and that's something that needs to be further researched along with time.
So now switching to Conservative government, which in Ontario, Doug Ford has been a controversial figure before COVID-19 has hit. And then his handling of COVID-19, people have changed perspectives or kept the same. Do you think that Doug Ford and the Conservative government of Ontario and their handling of COVID-19 has switched kind of the societal outlook of the government of Ontario in 2020?
Are you saying for our age group or for in general, just the idea of what we perceive of the government?
I think keeping it to our age group.
Okay.
20-year-olds.
Sure. So I think a lot of people did have mixed opinions about Doug Ford, especially in our age group where they find that Doug Ford was a bit more hard-headed in his thinking. However, I was talking to some of my peers about this too, and they say that this is something that was really helpful for the pandemic. This is someone who thought headstrong, who was able to take on precaution and was able to set the guidelines for what's going to happen during this entire state of emergency. So a lot of people are giving him a lot of praise. I do see that my opinions on him have changed as well. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of such things as like online learning, but you know what, that's becoming the biggest thing right now for elementary and secondary students. So I definitely see that those shifts in thinking are very common amongst my peers. I'm thinking it, I know that others are thinking it too. And it makes me see different perspectives a lot more now, keeps me open-minded. And I'm pretty sure that that's something that's happening with our age group as well, seeing politicians in a different light when there's a crisis that occurs as well.
It's true. All right, so switching back to kind of more of a personal intake, has your travel plans or kind of your job plans coming into the next 5 years, early 20s is a very independent time when a lot of people our age do travel or they start getting serious about what job route they're going to take. Has your kind of plans that you've had switched as a result of COVID-19?
So I don't personally think my plans have switched. I wasn't planning on going on exchange or like I didn't think ahead enough to think of like where I want to go right after grad. I should have, but I wasn't really thinking too much about it. And then as for co-op, I was told that I should have been in LA about 2 weeks ago. But yeah, it wasn't, they never told me ahead of time, so it wasn't really a plan, but they said that because of COVID, I wasn't able to attend, which is unfortunate, but that's what it is. And I'm still working remotely from home, so I'm not too sure if that's what the next few years would look like, if there are more opportunities for working from home, but definitely not many travel-based plans as I can see for the next few years.
Yeah. All right. Do you believe that social gatherings and going out, which is in a university culture, that's such a high thing, but really anyone, even people who aren't in school, like going out in your early 20s is something that past generations, it's been very prominent. Do you think that our generation's form of social gatherings is going to be quite different because of COVID-19 and how we're starting to get used to kind of keeping that distance?
I personally don't think that social gatherings will be really different after the next few months. I may be just thinking a little too highly of it, but a lot of people are looking forward to barbecue parties, to pool parties, for going to the bar, going to the club, things like that. People are always going to be like, we're going to wait till after this is over. And I still think that people look forward to, and I don't think it's things that people want to change until after this whole thing blows over, that they're excited to look forward to do this right after. So I don't think that the social outings are going to change in our 20s. I do think that we're just in a bit of a delay where we're going to have to wait. And hanging out right now is Zoom parties and social distancing on our front lawns. And I think that's the best that we can come up with right now until further notice.
All right. Well, first, I want to thank you for doing this. And we're going to head into the final question, which is the most broad one. So feel free to kind of answer in a personal way or a societal opinion in general. But since January 2020, and everything, not just COVID alone, but the changes in society, the political impacts across the world, looking at North America and in Europe and in Asia, and just how all nations interact, and the bit of tension that's happening in the world right now.
Right.
Has your opinion on the world changed?
I believe that it kept me open-minded. And I think that this world itself has challenged every single person to grow outside of such discomfort, because we've been forced to do so many things these past few months alone that we wouldn't have even imagined a year ago. So let's say Black Lives Matter protest is incredibly huge right now. And that's something that's opening up everyone's eyes. Let's like recognizing privilege, recognizing the inequality, recognizing justice, as well as COVID, especially that's a big one too, where we're recognizing that the government is able to have the financial support to actually help. They are able to help us. They are able to help people who are in need, and people to support where the frontline workers or like the homeless. I know that was a big initiative in Ontario as well. But there are different things that everyone can be doing to play a part. And I think it's just realizing that we're growing, but we can grow as a team, and we're not actually as isolated as we think we are. We're able to support each other, we're able to rely on each other, and we're able to do bigger things. But it just took us a little while to figure that out, and we had to push our limits to this point in order to see that we can do it. That might be a little optimistic on my end.
No, it's a great way to end this. So first, I just want to thank you. And if you have any final notes that you just want to set out to remember of, it's June 7th in 2020. Anything you want to tell future generations?
This too shall pass. I'm not wise and I'm not much older, but I'm sure that this will end soon, and then 2021 will be hopefully a better year for all of us. Hopefully the experiences that we missed this year can be made up for in the future.
Thank you. Positive note to end.